Uncanceled Comedy Collective presents Top Censored News of the Week. It's Top Censored News of the Week. We're bringing you the stories the mainstream media just refuses to cover. If they do cover them, they always do it in a very dishonest or sloppy way, and it's always on purpose. So let's get to the first story. Coming in at number 3, Israel buys TikTok influencers while continuing to push fabricated anti-Semitism censorship laws. Well, let's start with the Israel winning TikTok. We broke this story on Tuesday, but this is make no mistake. Even though the paperwork is still in process, they've already lined up on the battlefield of social media, the battlefield of TikTok, which Bibi Netanyahu himself says is where the battle is being fought right now. And the number one asset is TikTok. So you have Larry Ellison, second richest man on the planet, complete Zionist. He has said out loud that Israel is who he identifies as his home. And he's part of this billionaire class that's taking over TikTok right now. And we've seen what's happened on TikTok as far as the algorithm goes, the red flagging. They have red flagged Palestinian, pro-Palestinian, messages on there. They have redirected people to propaganda, Israel propaganda on their platform. So if you guys still have a TikTok account and you rely on it, I suggest you look for something else right now because you're not going to get anything accurate on there at all. So let's revisit what happened when Bibi was in New York. And I hate calling him that. He's more like Satan Yahoo. We got to remember that. We got to remember his real nickname is Satan Yahoo. He was in New York a few days ago meeting with the influencers, the hand-picked influencers, where he was educating them on the attack plan on what they're going to be doing on TikTok as this deal with Larry Ellison is going through. Here is him giving a class, and he actually calls it a class. This is a class, and it's being filmed. Check it out.
Christian influencers. Okay, you said we talked about the woke right, and you said I call it the woke Reich. That's a brilliant observation. The woke Reich, because these people, they're not any different from the woke left. I mean, they're insane. They're Louise. But they're actually meeting on some of the things. And what we have to do is we have to secure that part of the base of our support in the United States. That is being challenged systematically. A lot of this is done with money. Money of NGOs, vast. Money of governments, vaster. Okay? We have to fight back. How do we fight back? Our influencers. I think you should also talk to them if you have a chance. To that community, they're very important. And secondly, we're going to have to use the tools of battle. The weapons change over time. You can't fight today with swords. That doesn't work very well. Okay, and you can't fight with cavalry. That doesn't work very well. And you have these new things, like drones, things like that. I won't get into that. But we have to fight with the weapons that apply to the battlefields in which we're engaged. And the most important ones are the social media. And the most important purchase that is going on right now is class
Followers.
TikTok.
There it is.
Number one. And I hope it goes through because it can be consequential. And the other one, what's the other one that's most important?
X.
X. Exactly. Very good. And, so we have to talk to Elon. He's not an enemy. He's a friend. We should talk to him. Now, if we can get those two things, we get a lot. And I could go on other things, but that's not the point right now. We have to fight the fight, okay? To give direction to the Jewish people and give direction to our non-Jewish friends or those who could be our friends. Are we going to succeed with everyone? No. Will there be a strong counterpart? Yes.
So he's telling us the plan out loud. There's no secrets here. This isn't a secret meeting. This is being filmed. This is being thrown out there. They're telling us the plan. If you want to win the narrative, you buy it. and you force it on the world. That's the plan. If people could see, if they were right on the right side of history, they wouldn't need to do this, and that's pretty effing obvious at this point. Let's look at what actually came out of there, because we did report that on Tuesday, but now we're seeing some of the more of the details coming out of this story. And even in Israel, like I said, they are just blasting this out themselves. They have no problem telling us what we're looking at here, which is, it's called the Esther Project. And this is a picture taken right after that meeting took place in New York just less than a week ago. And this is the DOJ filings reveal these are a paid U.S. influencer campaign. This is, so they have the officials call social media the current war's eighth front. The new documents reveal how Jerusalem is paying to shape U.S. opinion. Yes, amid a separate AI-powered PR blitz. So these are all the people involved with this. They turn to the camera. They're really happy to be part of this team. And when we dig a little further, this has been made absolutely clear and is checked by several sources. Israel is paying them $7,000 per post. So this is, so one of them we showed, and I got it. You know what? I have to show this one again. If you guys missed this, it's actually a really bad one. But make no mistake, just because these guys are doing really awful ones doesn't mean this is not going to work. But I think this one kind of picked up some steam of how awful this one. And we assume they probably each got paid $7,000 to do this fake walk and talk, whatever TikTok video here while they're drinking their Slurpees and have their little headphones on. It's pretty laughable, but disgusting, more disgusting than laughable. But here it is.
Supporting people who start wars just to lose the wars so they can cry about it and then try it all again.
You must see anti-Semites are literally obsessed with Jews. Now walk with me. While you must see anti-Semites are stacking eviction notices, Jews are out here stacking up businesses.
Jews control all the industries. Maybe if you spent more time taking notes from successful people, you wouldn't have to spend your nights and weekends spreading hate from your anonymous account with an anime profile picture.
Do you work as hard as Jews? Do you network like Jews? No, because you're too busy cheering on a group of musty terrorists who smell like dirty earring backs. And if we're gonna keep it real, you're really mad because your income is giving side hustle.
Period.
How you gonna hate from outside, Shabbat? You can't even get in.
Yeah, not funny, disgusting more than anything. But the fact that who is this even for? And we asked that on the last show. Who is this for? What audience is this for? And I guess maybe it's just about throwing putty at a wall and see what sticks. But yeah, they've spent a lot already. Let's see how much more they're going to spend. In the meantime, this list was put out so we can see, and these two are on the list. They're all hijacked young people that want money, and for whatever reason, whether they believe it or not, they're taking the paycheck. So look out for these. All of these on your various platforms. And you know that anything they post, none of it is going to be legit because it's all being conditioned to them top down and out in the open. We're being told that you can't trust anything they say because the whole thing is about coming up with a narrative that's going to trick people into supporting Israel because they're not doing it on their own. And that's a fact. That's a fact. So this is what's happening. They're calling it the eighth front war on information in America. So let's see what we else have going on here. WikiLeaks responded to this. The Israeli government is paying U.S. content producers up to $7,000 per post as part of a major increase in budget for global influence campaigns. And this is right out of his own mouth. You guys heard him. We have to fight with the weapons that apply to the battlefields in which we engage. And of course, the most important ones are on social media. And this was the meeting on September in 2025, just a week ago. This was the actual company behind it. They're called the Bridges Partners, LLC. On behalf of the Israeli government, under the U.S. Foreign Agents Registration Act, they detailed the initial payments for production for influencers. So it sounds like, and later in this paragraph, you can see 900,000 has already been allocated. So add that up and you can see how much propaganda is already in the works. They're probably going to add to that when that one runs out. Why stop at 900,000? Why not just do more? Because they can spend whatever they want because we just keep giving them money. So it comes right out of the US taxpayer, right into Israel's hands, and then right back to any of these, I guess we could call them, the best opportunists, but just complete sellout, complete trash, wanting to get these paychecks to just lie to their following. And these people have a lot of followers, and that's the problem. So the campaign is part of a larger influence push by Israeli authorities amid the collapse of public support, which is exactly what this is about. They don't have this public support, so they have to pay for it. So we appreciate this take from WikiLeaks. Also, at the end of this, you can see they're also paying $1.5 million a month to Trump's former digital campaign strategist, Brad Parscale, to produce strategic communications using AI tools to generate thousands of variants on pro-Israel messaging. So on top of the influencers, they're cushioning it with AI tools to multiply these lies over and over again. And I assume you don't have to pay $7,000 for each of those AI posts that will be going out on top of these lame videos, that one you just watched. So with that, this is interesting because on top of the influencers getting paid, on top of the AI techniques being used to multiply their presence, on top of the purchase of TikTok and banning basically of content sharing of anyone that is challenging Israel. On top of that, you had this, the FBI saying at the end of the Tyler Robinson investigation, which Kash Patel, you guys remember, said case closed. Now it'll go to trial. He said, we're going to be focusing on working with the ADL. So if you look at the bottom, FBI.gov, the FBI and the ADL working together to fight hate. They've been doing this, and you can see the date on that was 2017. So the FBI and the ADL have had a relationship for years and years. And Kash Patel doubled down. It was about a week and a half ago when he said, we're done with the Tyler Robinson case. We're going to go back to our friendly relationship with ADL, and we're going to specifically focus on anybody who puts out information about what they think happened to Charlie Kirk. If you suggest that it's Israel, we're going to do something about it, because that constitutes hate speech, anti-Semitism, if you think that Israel had anything to do with Charlie Kirk. So that's what he was doing. Now, the ADL and law enforcement, as a leading anti-hate organization, so just so you guys understand about the ADL, it calls itself an anti-hate organization, that the ADL works closely with federal, state, and local law enforcement to assist them in protecting communities from extremism. So that's their relationship. They've had it for many years. But look at this. Below the Elon tweet, it says a larger problem with the ADL designating Turning Points USA, which this is interesting, right? You have Turning Point USA being designated as a hate group, that the FBI is allowing the ADL to approving this training to agents. So the ADL is deeply embedded within law enforcement, which we've known. And now we know it's as clear as day, not just to us, but as you can see, Elon Musk himself replied to this and said the ADL is a hate group. Now, that doesn't really help Netanyahu, does it? Because he says Elon's a friend and we need to nudge him about Twitter. Well, if Elon is on to this about ADL, well, that might be a good thing. That might be a really good thing. Shadow of Ezra says Elon Musk has now publicly declared that the ADL harbors hatred towards Christians and has labeled the organization as a hate group. That's good news that Elon is doing that. ADL CEO Jonathan Greenblatt, you guys know him, like another Austin Powers villain, right? In his own words, compared Christianity to a virus and claimed it was the root of anti-Semitism. He pointed to the historic accusation that Jews killed Christ as fueling centuries of hatred. And he concludes that Zionism automatically makes you someone who is, by definition, an anti-Semite. That's right out of his mouth. You want to hear him say it himself? He's going to tell you this.
Anti-Semitism is a bit of like a virus. And like some viruses, it exists in the kind of body politic and it's dormant, like chickenpox. You get chickenpox as a young person, and then after the kind of inflammation subsides, it's still in you. And it can manifest again when you're older because of stress or age as shingles. Although you can get inoculated and you can prevent that from happening. So I think anti-Semitism is similar. It's like this contagion. It's as old as time, right? We face it for thousands of years. First it was, after the death of Christ, there were these accusations that the Jews killed Christ and that the Jews weren't a real religion because we didn't accept Christ and then we didn't accept Muhammad. So you have this, the Jewish religion isn't legitimate, and that was the basis for the Crusades, which is at Tish B'Av, which, remembers the expulsion. We had inquisitions. We had all these horrible things. And then, after the Age of Reason, it was, maybe, and they realized that the sun doesn't revolve around the earth and the earth isn't flat. Then it was, maybe Judaism is okay as a religion, but it's the Jewish race that isn't legitimate. And then we saw kind of anti-Semitism metastasize into this kind of race-based form of hate, which of course exploded with the Shoah. And then after the tragedy of that, the injustice of that was exposed, people then said, it's not that their religion is illegitimate or their race is illegitimate. Now it's the Jewish state that's illegitimate. And we see that now in the form of anti-Zionism, which is anti-Semitism.
There it is. Said it himself. And he's been talking like this for a while. So this isn't like some new thing that he's putting out there. I just think maybe Elon is seeing this for the first time, or maybe this is now the time the wind is blowing in the direction where it is okay to point this out. But this changes everything now about the FBI. Look at this. This is the good news. From AF Post, Kash Patel has announced that the FBI will no longer partner with the ADL after the ADL received significant backlash for its now shuttered glossary of extremism and hate. The FBI and ADL have had a long-standing partnership focused on combating hate crimes, extremism, and terrorism. So there's that deer in headlight, cross-eyed dude looking exactly like how he's been looking the entire time he's had this job as FBI director. And he's that relationship is no longer happening here. So what are you going to do with your spare time now that all your cases are closed? Cash. I mean, you closed the Epstein case. That's done. You closed the Charlie Kirk case. That one's done. So I guess you're going to be sitting around twiddling your thumbs now that you don't have the ADL to schmooze around with and figure out ways to stop people from criticizing Israel. That's the number 3 story. Okay, coming in at number 2, the U.S. is set to bomb Venezuela as President Maduro calls out the Western media propaganda machine. Okay, what happened here? Well, this is the U.S. is preparing, and this is according to NBC News, the U.S. is preparing options for military strikes on drug targets inside Venezuela. So it's all about the attacking of drug targets, right? That's the whole setup. That's how you get half the base on board, because the drug cartels that Maduro runs, because he's illegitimate, that's why we're moving in and surrounding Venezuela and looking to literally bomb them right now. That's what it looks like. U.S. military officials are drawing up options to target drug traffickers, and strikes within the country's borders could potentially begin in a matter of weeks. Those sources are 2 U.S. officials familiar with the planning and 2 others sources familiar with the discussions. They spoke on the condition because they were not authorized to discuss the plans publicly, But the striking in Venezuela would be another escalation in the Trump administration's military campaign against alleged, and good for you, NBC, for putting alleged drug targets and its stance towards Venezuela's government. So you guys know what's really going on here, right? Yeah, I think so. I think we know what's really going on here. Well, let's listen to Maduro and his take on this. All right, let's talk here between friends. Why do you think there is an imperial threat against Venezuela? Do you really believe the empire wants good things for Venezuela? Do you think that? What is behind the false accusations against Venezuela? Already disproven by the UN, the European Union, the World Customs Organization, even the DEA's own official data. What is behind this whole campaign of slander? Because they can't say that. Maduro and Venezuela have weapons of mass destruction. They can't say that, right? So they have to come up with something else. That's why, because the weapons of mass destruction theater piece is our go-to everywhere else, right? You guys know the drill. They got WMDs. They got WMDs. Well, you can't do that with Venezuela at all. So you got to find another approach. And so that's why it's the drugs. They can't say that. No, they can't. So they invent a Hollywood style story. Wow. And they're the heroes, right? Because they've created the narrative that not even the people of the U.S. believe. In the U.S., there's nobody who's believing it. And if you guys look at the numbers, there are some that do believe it. But what is true is that it's a small minority that is buying this right now, which is good. The lies they're saying about Venezuela, it doesn't exist. The battle for truth, we are winning it. We have to win it every day. The truth of Venezuela in the U.S. and around the world. Well said, President Maduro. Well said. And DD Geopolitics, who shared that out, quotes Maduro, who we just saw. Nobody in the United States believes these lies. Nobody. He says the imperial campaign of slander has failed. Venezuela is winning the battle of truth at home and abroad, which it's hard to argue that. So this, again, we're back to this idea of socialism fails, capitalism is great. This is what's been told to us forever and ever. But make no mistake, there's no collapse of socialism in Venezuela. Obviously, their economy has been bad. Obviously, there's been millions of refugees that have left. But why is that? Because socialism failed? Or did we fail it? Did the U.S. do it? Or did we actually do it?
85%
85% of the billions of international drug traffickers each year is in banks in the United States. That's where the cartel is. Let them investigate and uncover it. Money laundering. Look, I was reviewing the data the vice president shared. And I believe it's over 500 billion annually. That's in the U.S. banking system, in legal banks. If they want to investigate a cartel, let them investigate the cartel, because it's the United States and all the drug trafficking in the world from South America and the rest of the world. They also control the opium trade and so on. It's in the United States, and it's where the mafias are, where the real cartels are. Exactly. So we create the problem in order to then justify our reaction to the problem, which is always military based. Always. It's always that. This Venezuela thing is not going away, but just so you understand the context of it. And yes, they are losing the public sentiment on this. And that's why they're struggling to figure out how they're going to make this attack happen. And why there's not really any pushback. They're not finding any cracks in the dam so far. So we'll see what they do. We'll see what they do next. Okay. Coming in at number 1. Top censor news of the week. Netanyahu admits the peace plan for Gaza is a scam whether Hamas signs it or not. Yep, we saw this thing unfold. We covered this on Tuesday, but I want you guys to understand that again, this is a situation where Netanyahu is saying the quiet part out loud. After he got out of the UN, there was a walkout of 75 countries during that UN meeting. He takes his fourth trip to DC, shakes Trump's hand, and as they come up with this 20-point peace plan, which is complete scam, a peace plan for Gaza, which doesn't involve any concessions from Israel, except other than they have to release 1,700 of the hostages they've had since October 7th. Now, they have had thousands of hostages. They call them prisoners, but we know they're hostages. They've been there. They have been taken from Gaza, from Palestine, and been held in a torture chamber, whatever they do to these people, beat and rape and torture them. There's 1,700 that they will let out if all these other things happen. And all the other things that happen are not anything that Israel has to do. So Hamas has to surrender. Israel gets to stay in Gaza. They get to continue their harassing campaign and their bombing campaign, their indiscriminate murder campaign, because they've been doing that anyways. This is not exclusively after October 7th. They've been able to do this over and over again for years and years and years. So they get to continue doing that. And then this is the clincher. They get to have an outside force put together that's not just Israel, but other entities, other foreign entities come in and start to govern the place and be in charge of it. And this means that Palestine will never, ever be a state. And that's the point. That's what they agreed on. But the real kicker is Trump telling Netanyahu, if Hamas doesn't agree to this horrible deal, because it's a horrible deal for them, if they don't agree, then what? Then Trump gives the green light, the U.S. gives the green light to Israel to finish the job. So it couldn't have gone any better for Netanyahu. And then he goes on and he brags. He brags about the fact that he got everything he wanted in this deal. And even if Hamas accepts it, even if Hamas accepts the deal, he's not going to abide by the Israel part of the deal anyway. So he either way, but I think he's expecting, and most people expecting Hamas not to accept this deal because it's not really a deal. So while we're waiting for that, in Hebrew, this always happens in Hebrew, you have them saying this out loud to the people in Israel, letting them know everything I just told you. They're putting it in print. They don't care to hide this. This is what's going out, according to Brian Tashem. So the Israeli newspaper, it's owned by the Adelson family, and it's telling their readers, don't worry, Netanyahu won't abide by the deal anyway. And that's it. Atomy Media says immediately after lying to Trump and the Western world face in English that he would support a peace deal, Netanyahu told his people in Israel there would be no peace and no withdrawal. It's humiliating for Trump in America. Well, no, not necessarily. And I said this on Tuesday, not necessarily humiliating, because you got the Western war machine, the Western media propaganda machine backing this up and pretending that this thing is totally legit when it's not. And that they should be calling this out like we are, but they're not. They're allowing it to continue. So let's just pretend that everything checks out in the deal. Let's just pretend that we're honestly waiting. We're just waiting for Hamas to decide if they want to take the deal or not. Let's just be a little patient here. Give them a moment, as we would with anybody. You give them hey, look it over. Let us know what you think. Let's give them all the benefit of the doubt. Guess what? Israel can't even wait for a response. They're immediately doing what they do every single day. And we got this information this morning, and I decided not to show the video because it's so bad. But this is what is in the video. If you guys haven't heard, and this is what makes this so infuriating. Israel goes and bombs a water truck while Palestinian families were trying to fill up water. The video of the massacre shows a woman grieving over the shredded body of her husband 6 feet away There are men and children scattered over the ground, some alive, but mostly dead. There are literal body parts stuck to the water truck with random limbs being pieced together to form full humans. I know most Americans don't care about Palestine, but maybe you should care about America, because the reason you can't afford health care, insurance, and food is because your tax dollars are being siphoned by Israel to fund a genocide. And I will tell you this, I did debate whether or not to show this video, knowing that we would get kind of a warning on the platforms. Even Rumble wouldn't let us do this without putting some warning on the video. But even if they didn't do the warning, it's so bad. I want to, you guys can look up CEO Lawyer and you can watch it for yourself. I took 2 screen grabs and we're just going to leave it at that. But this, again, we know this is happening every day, but this is more salt on a wound, knowing that this all took place after the handshake, after the applause of Benjamin Netanyahu and Trump, agreeing on this deal that's not even a deal. This is the water truck. There are literally body parts all over the place. And the people on the ground, and that's the cleanest picture I could find on the right. But they're literally putting body parts together, trying to make form of human beings, whatever is left, scattered everywhere. And these were families getting water. So this is the thing that we're all debating about, right? This is the thing that we all have to, it's complicated, right? You guys heard that one, right? It's complicated. Oh, it's hard to explain. The Middle East, the background, it's really, really complicated sometimes, but we're doing our best. And anybody still telling you that anyone's honestly working on a two-state solution that's representing the West, that's a lie. And you need to tell people that is a lie. There is no two-state solution happening. Bibi Netanyahu has said over and over, it's not what we're going to have. There's no way. It's not in this deal. Trump says we're not doing it. That's it. There's only one state, and it's the Greater Israel Project. And the sooner we can understand that as absolute fact, there's no gray area there. It is not complicated. It's to quote Caitlin Johnstone, the Gaza situation is the easiest thing to understand out of all of our horrible foreign wars and foreign conflicts that we've had throughout our lifetimes. It's the easiest one to understand. So don't let people tell you otherwise. Okay, that is top censored news of the week. Okay, let me take a moment to introduce you to our good friends over at World Harvest Food Bank right here in LA. World Harvest has been serving families across Los Angeles for 18 years now, and they started with this simple idea. Everyone deserves access to healthy, affordable food no matter what they're going through. With their Cart with a Heart program, families can walk away with a full cart of groceries, fresh produce, dairy, meat, and pantry supplies for just a $50 contribution. That's for the entire cart. That same cart would cost over $300 at a typical grocery store. At World Harvest, everyone is welcome. They don't ask for income verification, ID, or any paperwork. No. Basically, their doors are open to anyone who's doing their best, but just needs a little extra push to get by. If you're an Angelino like me, you know the times have been tough here. First with all the union strikes, the LA fires, and now the ICE raids going on. It seems like we're living in a constant state of uncertainty. And that's why it's so important to support local charities like World Harvest, because they aren't just helping the community. They're an essential function in its very survival. World Harvest is located at Venice and Arlington. And right now, you can use our special discount code THL20 for 20% off your contribution amount at checkout. And if you're not in the LA area, you can still help out with a $50 donation, which will provide a full cart of food for a family by going to worldharvestfoodbank.org or scan the QR code for more info. Or you can just spread the word. Follow them online. Let people know they're here for them, because at the end of the day, it's about providing choice, access, and relief without barriers. World Harvest Food Bank. End hunger now.